This podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Visit the Tech Podcast Network at www.techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's here. Welcome to Calcast, your Create International podcast. This is Gospel Gadget Podcast, episode 60. Welcome, listeners, to Gospel Gadget Podcast. We want to show you what God is doing in terms of using technology to spread the gospel message all over the world and especially cross-culturally towards unreached peoples. Greetings, Gospel Gadget Podcast listeners. We are excited to be bringing you a whole new series of episodes that relate to media for movements, very similar to what we've been talking about and sharing with you from God Network News. But in this series, we're going to be looking at the same people groups, the same movements, but looking at how technology and media are being used to enhance and spark and even accelerate movements. What I wanted to ask you was, I asked the other brothers this too. Have you or any of the people that you're working with or in the movements that you see, have you seen anybody using any kind of media? What I mean by that is maybe even an app, a Bible app on their phone that they study the Bible together, or maybe Christian music that they make and they record and pass on to each other, or Jesus film, or other kinds of media. Have you seen people using media very much in your area, to share the gospel?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Most of the people, they have these smartphones. It's just amazing to see how many smartphones are available,
Yeah.
in very poor communities, very poor areas. They may not have data or internet, but they have smartphones.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
and some of these phone companies that provide network, they bring all these promotions like, oh, you can get this smartphone for cheap if you only use our SIM card, okay?
All right.
And so, and those smartphones come locked for that company's SIM card.
Oh, okay.
And they get pretty good phones, very cheap, as long as they use the SIM cards from that company.
Wow,
So,
that's a good idea.
and we see most of these young people downloading the Bible,
Wow, that's
and
good.
And through that they actually read it and they go and they share. So something is happening that maybe I would like to share this specifically. The first leaders that came to the Lord, they were older generation, like old people.
Yeah.
Like household, the man of like a leader of a family and with their wives, and they would come to the Lord with their children. But most of these people, we were shocked to see how much they were not willing to change. Their worldview was very into like witchcraft, consulting witch doctors, but coming to the church and also leading the church and having affairs with other ladies, sex out of their marriage, finding other people. And when we found these leaders doing that, we confronted them like, hey, you are either in or out. You cannot say that you are a Christ follower and but doing these other things. The gospel has to really bring change in your life. This is what it's saying, like the Bible is saying. But it's totally against, what you guys are doing. And they were saying, oh, the habits of our tradition and forefathers cannot be underestimated, how they say. It's like they received Jesus. We had the amazing results in the beginning. Many people coming to the Lord, but actually having Jesus and saying that we love Jesus and plus, other things,
Yeah.
But we were not, we were very discouraged because we as a team, we used to sit as missionaries and evaluate, how the work is going and what are the things that we need to keep doing and what are the things that we would do differently today. Yeah. And as we evaluated, we were very sad to see all of these people going back, to their old way. Yeah. But in the other end, we were not seeing what the Lord was doing. But the Lord was encouraging us to keep up, continue, not to give up. Yeah. But we would see many children. Let's say I'm on the island 12 years now. Wow. And then we had so many children coming to our door because children, they flood, Sometimes I would have to, say, oh, it's already late. You should go home because my door, they were all full of children in my door and, in my yard. And we were playing soccer with these kids.
You're listening to Gospel Gadget Podcast. Visit our website at godnetworknews.com.
And telling Bible stories to the children. But we did not know that God was doing something in the lives of those children. That then they were 9 years old. So let's say 9 plus 12, it's 21. Yeah. Now they're 20s, 21s, 22, 23. And most of those church leaders that we have today, they were the kids that used to play in our yard, in our place. And they are the ones who are embracing the gospel, who have changed their worldview and they are following the Lord. And these are the people that are actually using their phones and, getting phones and downloading the Bible because it's a newer generation who God is raising. They can read and they can write because the younger people, they have access to education rather than the older people because of war. We have history of war that people did not, the older generation, they had no access to education in schools because of the civil war. But the younger people are actually the ones reading and downloading the Bible and sharing the stories to many people throughout the whole island. So they're using a lot of media, which is great. I think it's
good. That's really good.
If we can actually get them actually to understand the power or that these things have to actually see the gospel reaching to many other places, have their stories actually being reproduced and shared to other people. I think that would really encourage and other people as well, because they think, oh, this is not for me, or other people, they think, oh, this doesn't happen. But if they see the locals doing that, and they would say, oh, if he could do that, I can also do it. And that's a really, really powerful thing, Calvin. I'm so impressed.
We were just, before COVID hit, we were at a conference, the last conference we were at here in Chiang Mai. And there was a friend of mine, David is his name. He's Fulani, and he's working with a number of Fulani groups. But he said, oh, can you help me put films on this device? And so I said, oh, yeah, I'll help you. And I said, well, we've got some films we can put. He says, well, that's good, but I want to put our films on there. And I said, oh, what films are those? He says, oh, I'll give you here on the USB stick and help me put them on there. And so I was putting them on. As I'm putting it on, I'm looking at them. Little films that they had made on their own phones. And I was looking at some of them. I had a man come on his bicycle into the village, and then the camera went to the man coming out of a thatched grass hut, and they talk and they're sharing, and they're Muslims. And then one starts talking about Jesus, Nabi Isa, and they're going on, and just very short, only about 2 minutes, 3 minutes long. And they had made that, and they were using it in their evangelism. Everyone was getting it on all their devices, all their phones and everything. And they just show it like that for a couple of minutes and then talk. And they just did that on their own. No one came and taught
That's
them.
amazing.
They just said, "Okay, let's just do this." So
Wow.
I felt like the Lord was saying, "Hey, see, I'm already doing this. You got to get on the gospel train. Get on the train. Get your ticket."
Wow.
So that's what we're wanting to see that happen, and we feel like that is really how this last great move of God, all over the unreached world is going to happen in ways like that. I've been in this work long enough to actually be able to see sort of seasons going of missions. And I can remember when we didn't even know what an unreached people group was and why. And we were like, what is that, And the next phase we kind of got into was, there was some unreached individuals coming to us. And we were, this is so great. We celebrated that. We would come together at the IFMLT and, we planted a church. Oh, you planted a church. Wow, that's amazing. And we would celebrate. And now when we come together, we're talking about, we've got like movements.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to help us continue to bring exciting stories fresh from the field. Visit our website at godnetworknews.com and select the PayPal link on the right side of the page, or consider becoming a Patreon partner to receive access to more valuable materials exclusive to our members.